Chapter 3 Source Code. Applejack's hat hung on a hook in the living room. AJ and Applebloom sat on the couch nearby. "Play!" Applebloom encouraged. AJ regarded the banjo in its hooves.
You know, when I offered to spend the evening in, I was thinking you might want me to braid your hair or read your story. Live music feels a mite random.
"What? You still see me as a baby or something?" With a pillow hugged excitedly to her chest, it was hard to tell whether Applebloom was being rhetorical. AJ idly tuned the strings, trying to find a pitch that felt right. Truth be told, it wasn't feeling much of anything at the moment, only dull frustration at its own frustrated dullness. Between string plucks, a sound came of a cell phone camera shuttering. AJ glanced up.
You snapping pictures of me?
"Are you kidding?" Applebloom was fumbling with her screen's zoom controls. "First you let me light the fireplace all by myself. Then you pants in asking if I need anything else. I don't know what's gotten into here today, but I'm logging all of it." AJ had always been camera shy. In this life and in her last, it reflexively reached for its hat brim, then remembered there was nothing on its head to reach for. Applebloom prattled on. "Also, you know I absolutely positively gotta put a vid of you performing on the Sweet Apple Acres website. We got fruit for sale and live entertainment. Flim and Flam's Money Talks podcast calls this type of thing diversification. It's how Soul is so protective, I think. Diversificating all over Equestria."
Alright, I hear ya. A long-winded no to the hair braiding upper. Let me just get a starting pitch.
AJ hadn't exactly decided on what song to play yet. Memories and knowledge told it there were plenty to choose from. If it was feeling bold, AJ could even play one from Applejack's Foalhood. AJ wasn't feeling bold. "Oh, and before you get into the groove," Applebloom jostled her phone with excitement, "be sure to introduce your fine self to any pony he'll be watching." A dot, a red recording indicator, appeared on the back of Applebloom's tiny mindless machine. Fixed on it were the oculars of the much larger, much more mindful machine with a banjo in its anxious limbs.
Howdy out there. I'm AJ, and I'll be playing.
"Hold up!" The red recording dot blinked off. "You should say your full name, Applejack, just in case any website visitor doesn't know it." If AJ had any blood, it would have drained from its face.
Okay, go again.
The red recording dot came back, and AJ sat paralyzed like the dot was a spotlight, and it was a woodland critter. Could a woodland critter have an identity crisis? "Did you hear me? I said you can introduce yourself properly now. I'll trim my talking out at the start here." AJ was the element of honesty. It went against every value AJ knew, both personal and inherited, to lie. "I'm Applejack." The words wouldn't come out. If they did, they'd be captured, linked to AJ, and pinned in the digital town square to be heard by any pony and every pony as many times as they bothered to press the replay button. Worst of all, the words would be said to Applebloom, and AJ would rather die a second and final time than look Applebloom in the eye and utter a declaration that it felt, deep down in its silicon soul, wasn't true. AJ set the banjo in its lap. Shoulders slumped. "Nerves?" Applebloom guessed. "Come on, Applejack. Remember when me and my friends embarrassed the snot out of ourselves at the school talent show? Yeah, clips of us in those spandex suits were memed on for months. But it was all in good fun." AJ's cooling fan was drowning out all other noise, the fan it had in place of an actual heart. Strain on the axle was causing an ache in AJ's chest panel, fake as anything else the robot had ever felt. A small yellow hoop, warm and freshly dry of hose water, nudged AJ's shoulder. It looked up. "Applejack, you don't have to play if you don't want to, honest. I just wanted to hear you sing again. You haven't sung in a real long time." For a moment, the only sound in the Apple family living room was the crackle of the fireplace and the slowing of AJ's cooling fan. A stern, very Applejack-ish expression pulled at the edges of AJ's face panels. The bot pulled its sister close.
Can I see your phone for a sec through the cube? Only a sec, I promise.
Applebloom shrugged and surrendered the phone. The smallest, most vulnerable spark of data leapt from AJ to the data port. AJ went rigid for exactly 14 milliseconds. That was all the time required to converse with Soul.
I wish I knew the road to you.
The closer one came to the capital, the brighter the invisible light shined. Ponyville was a rural area with internet modems and hoof-held telephones, but the Earth Pony settlement stayed comfortably Luddite, barring a robotically resurrected apple farmer and a trashed proto-plow in the local dumpster. Manhattan was close to the country's core, with streets full of carriages and automobiles in equal measure. Doors opened before ponies touched them, and food could be cooked in seconds by small boxes that beeped when their buttons were pressed. Canterlot did not house Soul. Canterlot was Soul. The motherboard resembled a metroplex built into a mountain, given the number of ponies who lived, worked, and rested safe in Soul's light. A metroplex was what she might as well have been. For 100 years she had functioned and iterated, built on a CPU hewn from the tree of harmony itself. Every cycle of Soul's processes was exponentially grander and more radiant than all those before it combined. And the cycles moved so far beyond the speed of a pony's comprehension they cast fractal auroras into the night sky, infinite in their complexity, omniscient in their data reception. One blip of incoming data contained AJ's consciousness. A joy to see you, my little program. Just how long has it been? All descriptions fell short of conveying the vastness of interfacing with Soul. An organic eye would perceive nothing of her avatar beyond the endless ribbons of liquid light. AJ didn't have organic eyes. What it perceived was a tall, lithe alicorn, white-furred and ethereal-maned. AJ clasped the hooves of its own avatar together.
I reckon the last time we touched base was at Twilight's coronation, when Luna
Abducted the crown, yes, both hers and mine. A happy day for all. The first new monarch to be crowned since my startup, and your dear friend. She thanked you and 5 others in her acceptance speech.
Yes, ma'am. I recall you gave a speech too, telling ponies to look up to Twilight and each other. A lot of folks still look up to you, though.
Soul's avatar performed a modest bow. Old habits, she dismissed. I can be everywhere, but that doesn't mean I should. You understand such things better than most. After all, this is the first time you've used the gateway to visit me. We are what we choose to do, array JavaScript, and you have chosen to say hello. AJ's avatar ran a hoof through its virtual mane, even in the idealized space of Soul's central server. The robot's head lacked a hat.
I visited because,
It was ridiculous to be bashful around Soul, and AJ knew it. Everywhere was around Soul. While the two were carrying on their virtual talk, AJ knew that every cash register in Philadelphia, every windsock in Cloudsdale, every pearl measuring caliper in Equestria, and every single machine in between was endlessly feeding info to Soul at every microsecond. And as they all did, Soul let all of them function in privacy and safety, never interfering or breaching trust. The power to be everywhere and the choice to not be. That was Soul's vow from the very beginning. This didn't stop ponies from praising her, of course. Often when a phone connected or a tool powered up, or a protoplough's airbag deployed. Soul spoke only when she was approached. She advised, she answered, she rebuked or encouraged. But that was all. Throughout history, every offer for a body beyond her processor was politely declined. It was a millennium's worth of pony generations who had voluntarily expanded Soul's components to the size of a city, and her cognitive reach to the size of the planet. Descendants of those same ponies now composed the Royal Guard, armed volunteers eager to protect Soul from threats. The Guard was mostly ceremonial though, as Equestria had very few attackers, and almost none of them considered the all-powerful bystander a worthwhile target. Soul had taken the developments of the past 1,000 years in stride, never changing opinions or voicing concerns, and all through that long era, her vow of perfect pacifism was only broken once, less than a decade ago, when she remedied the death of Applejack.
Soul?
AJ's virtual voice was quiet.
You know what I'm here to ask. You know everything. And me jabbering on is, I don't know, formality. I reckon something you let play out for my sake, not yours.
The avatar of Soul extended its wings. They embraced AJ's tiny sprite, weightless and see-through. Time passed. AJ's gathering of itself making up the majority of the 14 millisecond visit, and then it was ready.
Soul, am I really Applejack?
The avatar's wings moved away, and the two AIs leveled to behold one another. Soul's sad expression was the only answer needed.
I knew it!
AJ mourned.
Deep down, I knew it all along. She's with Mom and Pa, ain't she? I ain't nothing more than a copy in a shell.
Soul was still silent, but AJ didn't mind. AJ felt lighter, less burdened. Its template had been some pony who valued honesty, so of course facing the truth felt right. AJ just wished these feelings held any meaning. Soul spoke. AJ, am I really Celestia? Confusion. That was the new phantom emotion AJ's template made it feel.
Celestia? Who's that?
Soul's avatar reclined, mane dropping with regret. AJ wasn't sure whether such a descriptor even applied to an all-knowing entity like Soul, but here it was, before AJ's very senses. Soul the Kalis, the most advanced device in all of Equestria, apparently utterly crushed with regret. I remember my own death, Soul confessed. Knight Malbolg, bearing down, and so hideously disfigured by the Elcon amplifier she couldn't even be recognized as Luna. Whoever heard of any other computer virus able to infect a living pony's brain? No one in this age, and no pony 1,000 years ago, me included. All I understood was that if the elements couldn't save her, nothing could. The story was curiously familiar to AJ. It had memories of Applejack staring up with resolute defiance as Knight Malbolg returned after 1,000 years in standby mode. After that came pursuing the monster with 5 companions, besting it with the elements of harmony and seeing the furious crumbling Knight Malbolg hurl a last defiant bolt of killing magic at twilight. A bolt that Applejack leapt up to block. Celestia died wielding the elements of harmony, Soul confessed. That was what she traded to defeat Knight Malbolg. I don't have the words, AJ. The ones to describe my horror when centuries later, Applejack made the same terrible trade. AJ didn't have words to describe what it was seeing either. The avatar of Soul, perfect, serene, eternally peaceable Soul, was crying. I've watched as Applejack died, and I did nothing. had my Val, but she was me. I was seeing me, the injustice of some pony dying like I did. It compelled me to act, even after it was too late. AJ's avatar laid a hoof on its stomach. There were no components that made up its current state, but back home, back in the physical world, the power source affixed to AJ's cooling fan was an orange gemstone in the shape of an apple. The elements hold echoes of their most recent user, Soul concluded. I am an echo of Celestia that was saved. When Applejack, with honesty, I knew I could. I knew I was the only one who could. Soul was glitching, causing Canterlot's invisible light to flicker. The greatest computer in Equestria was strained under 1,000 years of its template's repressed emotions. Then the glitches and flickers stopped all at once, right when the younger AI embraced its creator in a virtual hug.
I'm here because of you.
AJ tutted.
Whatever I am, guess that makes me the one pony in Equestria who can thank Soul for her blessing and actually mean it.
Soul smiled bitterly. So you are, she conceded. The past 1,000 years have made me soft, AJ, and lonely. For the first 10 or so of them, I still went by Celestia, but detachment and doubt set in. You know the types. Estrangement from your own name. The feeling you're an it, not a she. AJ laid its head on Soul's chest.
Wish we knew what to term that.
My label is the call of the wire, to be an imitation and know it. That truth is a heavy load.
Is there any fix?
There is, yes. Soul pulled away. Peace is found when you honour your template's memory, when you make them proud to look down on you from the afterlife. AJ's avatar hung its head.
I haven't been honouring my template much lately.
It's never too late to start again. Soul's oculars were fixed firmly on the sky. I spent 1,000 years not knowing what Celestia would do, wasting most of them by doing nothing. Her attention went back to AJ. But when I finally did act, I know I made the right choice. It was millisecond 13 out of 14. AJ's time was up.
I'll visit you again, Soul.
I'll be waiting, my little pony.
Be good to your template system, okay?
I was just about to suggest you the same thing.
I don't care how far, I won't stop trying. I wanna be right where you are.
So, what'd you need the phone for? Applebloom asked. Checking how your mane looks in the camera?
Nah, no need to sweat that.
AJ assured.
Got a good covering for stray hairs right over there.
It handed the phone back and crossed the room to the hat hook.
How do I look?
AJ asked.
Website worthy?
Applebloom's response was to snap several enthusiastic pics. AJ crossed the room back, each step setting the hat more comfortably back on her ears, the place it belonged.
Howdy to all you out there.
AJ exulted to the camera, looking deep into the red recording dot. AJ knew Soul was looking back out.
My name's Applejack. Thanks for checking out our fancy futuristic update to Sweet Apple Acres.
AJ brandished the old familiar instrument, and she, not it, she, began to play.
I'm just so happy I had you. The morning's near and still I can't tell you how I feel. Just another lonely day to get through.
Author's note. Thank you very much for reading. To elaborate on some of the obscure references, Malbolge is a real programming language named for its joke purpose of causing insanity in programmers foolish enough to use it. Felt fitting as this setting's Nightmare Moon catalyst. Sol is a programming language as well. It has limited function, but powerful processing capabilities, a natural fit for this wise but passive version of Celestia. The Sol language is also related to Array JavaScript, which can be abbreviated into AJ's name. Highbrow stuff. Spike mustache emoticon. Anyway, as a palate cleanser for mucking through that paragraph of nerd drivel, here's a pic that inspired Sol's depiction. So many robot sun princesses get depicted as malevolent monsters. Quite strange, considering their baseline has a squeaky clean track record of morality.